Hello, my name is Gus, but you can call me BATGUS, and we are back here with the commentary of Batman the Animated Series. And today's episode is an episode that is very interesting called The Forgotten. Is this a forgotten episode? I don't know. Let's check it out. But before I give it a play, I will make a countdown. So if you want to watch the episode with me, you can do it in your DVD box set or in your streaming service that has Batman the Animated Series. All right? So let's go. I'm going to give it a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Here we have the Warner Bros. Logo. And like I said, this is a very interesting episode because it's not one that features any big villain of the Rogues Gallery, and it's basically about the main theme of this episode is about illegal work labor. Maybe that's the whole point of it. In the story, Bruce Wayne is kidnapped, and during his when he's kidnapped, he loses his memory and he doesn't remember who he is. So he's taken to this area very far from Gotham where there is all these guys working in this mine, breaking rocks and constructing things for a very despicable man. And it's an interesting episode, even though it's not one of the most memorable ones. The episode starts with oversight of Gotham City in the light of the afternoon. We show the street people on the streets of Gotham. It's an interesting start because we see Bruce Wayne in the poor areas of Gotham. He's helping the social, social organization that helps people from the streets, that helps the homeless people in the streets of Gotham to have food and to have a place to live or a place to sleep. And he's talking to the owner of the organization, and the guy is telling a story about some disappearing people, especially homeless people that are happening around the neighborhoods. He also talks about a guy named Dan Riley who disappeared recently and nobody has any clue where he is. So Bruce Wayne, we are now back into the Batcave, and Bruce Wayne is using a disguise to go to the streets as this homeless guy. He puts this gray wig that he will wear to portray a character. I don't remember if there is a name for this guy that he portrays in the streets as a disguise. I think they will talk about his name later, but he drives around the neighborhood, basically doing detective work, right? Which is very interesting. Not as Batman, which is something new in the series. He's basically going out wearing a disguise, a different identity to discover clues about these disappearing people, these missing people, right? So he ends up in an alley where he's going to find two guys, strange fellas, that will offer him a job because they think he's a homeless guy as well. The interesting thing is that he's not wearing his bat suit underneath his disguise, which is something that I thought that he was probably would going to use in any situation, right? So maybe this is a plot hole, but anyway, he fights the guys and shows them great abilities, fighting abilities. But then one of them knocks him out with a wood stick, and he goes unconscious. And they do this in a very very good way. They show a cat reacting to him being knocked out by this wood stick, and to show the violence of the strike. And this is where we go to this kind of farmhouse in a deserted area where we meet all these guys that are working for basically no money as slaves of an inescrupulous man, like I said before. And Bruce wakes up there. He doesn't remember who he is. He has his leg cuffed to the bed, which means that this guy is on this place, which they don't know where it is as well. They are all prisoners against their own will. They didn't commit any crime. They were basically homeless people, or guys that didn't have any money or accepted the wrong job. Anyway, that's the main idea of the thing. And once again, we deal with a theme in this animated series that is quite adult, right? The whole illegal work labor, which we know that exists, is not something that we see in kids animation. So again, we're dealing with a very adult theme. And we, by the way, we meet the boss of them, which is this fat, disgusting guy who looks like a huge pork, and he's always eating chicken wings, chicken legs, actually. So he's the image of the disgusting, villainous demon. And he's always eating, and with his t-shirt dirt with fat from the food that he eats. And he's a pretty disgusting fellow. Then we go back to the Batcave, where Alfred doesn't find Bruce in any place of the mansion. And this is weird because Batman occasionally always comes back to his home during the night. And this will develop into Alfred starting his own detective journey to find out where his master is. Then we see a little bit of the routine of the guys working inside the mine. They are working tunnels, breaking rocks, like I said. Very brutal work that real prisoners perform in jails, right? Bruce talks to a guy who is Dan Riley, the name that was mentioned in the beginning of the episode. And Dan Riley tells his story to Bruce. And he also tells the idea that... sorry, I'm reading the story now. I'm reading the subtitles to remember his story. So I have to keep up with the events. But he says a similar story of what happened with Bruce, right? That he was jumped by 3 guys in a night, and they knocked him out and brought him to this place, similar to what happened to Bruce. So, very bizarre and sad situation. Then we had this, the mine collapses over these guys, and none of them die, but they are almost killed in the accident, which shows that this job is also very dangerous. We go back to the Batcave. Alfred receives a call and he has to warn the people at the other end of the line that Master Wayne is not available in the moment. He goes to the garage of the mansion and he finds that the Studebaker, the car, because Bruce Wayne has a museum of cars there, there is only one car missing, that is the Studebaker, and this car has a tracking device which Alfred is able to track on the Bat computer. Then we go back to Bruce having a dream in the place that he is now. In the dream, he is looking at some mirrors and he sees images of himself, including the real Bruce Wayne in his regular clothes. Bruce is laughing at him. And during this dream, this mirror image of Bruce starts to laugh so hard that he becomes the Joker and pulls Bruce into the mirror, and they fall over the Gotham streets. It's a very interesting dream situation. Then the dream follows with one scene where Bruce is he's approached by many homeless people on the streets asking for money, begging for money, and he gives them some dollars, but there are so many people around him that he starts to cry for the whole situation. It's a very depressive dream. Then he wakes up back at the place and he starts to realize that some information of his life is starting to come up. We also have this great POV shot of the inside the mouth of the disgusting boss while he's eating a sandwich. This is another theme of the show. This guy eats all the food he wants while he doesn't give any food for his workers. So this is pretty cruel and disgusting. Then one of the guys that are friends with Bruce in the episode mocks him, and this fat guy orders his employees to beat him. So Bruce and Dan Riley intervenes in the situation and they start a big fight in the working area, which will eventually end up on them being imprisoned inside a metal box. And since they are in the desert, it's a very hot place where they keep sweating. Alfred, we go back to Alfred. He, using his detective skills, he finds the Studebaker at a junkyard with the tracking device underneath the car. And in this junkyard, he also spots the two guys that jumped on Bruce during the attack, that they knocked him out and brought him to the working area. And he puts the tracking device underneath their truck so that he can trace their location later. Very good strategy from Alfred there. We go back to one of the most dramatic scenes, in my opinion, of this episode, where Bruce and Dan Riley are talking in their respective prisons, which means they're metal boxes. And Dan Riley is talking about his son that will be 6 years on April 7 or 7 years on April 6, but he can't remember for being there in prison for so long, which is a kind of reality that happens with people that are imprisoned unfairly, right? They start to miss their family and they start to lose the information about their own lives. He starts to cry. It's a very sad scene, very depressive. Again, it's not a kid's show, right? We're not talking about a kid's show here. This is when Bruce has another dream where he remembers his parents, and eventually he remembers that they are dead because he sees the grave of the Waynes, And after that, by consequence, he remembers that he is the Batman. This is when we have one of the most out out of the box and crazy scenes of the episode. And I really mean out of the box, because Bruce is able to bend the metal of the box with his own strength and free himself from the prison, which is something that why he didn't do that before, right? If he could do that with so much strength. He escapes from the area and goes into the desert, where the employees, the guards of the prison, set the dogs after him. And there is this chase. And right after this, we're going to have the introduction of the Batwing in the series, because so far we didn't have the Batwing in the show. And ironically enough, it's not being piloted by Bruce or Batman, and yes, by Alfred, right? Alfred is piloting the Batwing, so it's an interesting introduction in the show of this famous Bat vehicle that is not being piloted by Batman in its first appearance. But the funny thing is that this scene is played for laughs, because Alfred doesn't know how to pilot the Batwing, and the Batwing is in autopilot, so it is dodging mountains in the desert and is flying very fast, and Alfred is yelling and shouting inside the cockpit, going insane with the maneuvers of the airplane. So it's a very funny scene, and he begs the autopilot to take them down and bring them to the ground of the desert. He hits the panel, and showing that the autopilot also has a great sense of humor, he answers Alfred with, "The funeral is yours," because the area that they will land is very dangerous for having so many rocks and mountains. And the Batwing flies over Bruce. He ends up finding him, and it lands on the desert. A very rough landing for Alfred. And we finally gonna have them meeting again. What a great scene, huh? Alfred does a little pun, and Batman is gonna get his suit to go back into action, right? We go back to the prison, where the fat guy is demanding things. He's always demanding things. He has a table filled with foods and all the things that he wants. And one of the guards enters his house shouting, "The Bat! The Bat is here!" Then none other than Batman shows up, and he tosses some guys over the fat guy, and the fat guy gets a gun, starts to run after him. We have this chase that will end up in the mine. So we're gonna have an action sequence with Batman inside the mines, and it's a very interesting scene because it happens in the dark of the tunnels inside the mines, and with all these guys chasing him, Batman using a cart filled with rocks and pushes it onto the guys. And we're gonna have this chase that is a very interesting one, because it's Batman basically fighting real criminals, right? Real villains of the world. And he uses the dark on his favor, like usual, to jump on the guys on the shadows and basically beat them all. there's a moment that the fat guy orders the others to turn off the lights inside the mine because there are some lights on it, and the episode get this very interesting look in terms of photography where everything becomes kind of a black and white, and we just see the highlights of the characters and their faces and their figures, right? So this turns the whole situation into a very kind of horror style scene, right? So Batman runs after the fat guy. I have to call him that because that's what he is. I don't remember his name, but here we're gonna have a final confrontation of them, where, as usual in this TV series, this animation series, should I say, there is a fire. Because the guy, he is holding this light on his hand, and he stumbles into some boxes of explosives, and the light falls into the boxes, creates a fire, and in order to save this guy and to save himself, Batman pushes him into this river, this artificial river passing nearby on some pipes, and they slide on the water out of the mine that explodes, right? And there is this huge explosion of the mountain. The guy falls into a big lake. Batman falls over him, grabs him, and basically warns the guy that he will be imprisoned. And he says, let's see if you're gonna like the prison food after I take you to jail. Then we have the ending of the episode. Bruce Wayne goes back to his normal life, and he helps the guys that he met on the prison, Dan Riley and the other fella. We have a final joke where Bruce Wayne, he reveals himself to these guys and actually offers them a job in Wayne Enterprises. And once Alfred comes to pick him up, they are in front of the organization that helps homeless people. The little fella that is a funny one asks Dan Riley to hit him on the head, and then asks why, and he says, maybe I wake up as a millionaire as well, or a billionaire. So it's a funny joke to end. This was the episode The Forgotten. Thank you so much if you watched this commentary until now. I hope you are liking this content. If you are, please leave a like in the video, and also subscribe to the channel for more Batman the Animated Series commentary of the episodes in the future. See you in the next Bat video, and bye bye.